Welcome to Level 13.
The contents of this book are arranged around 3 themes. In this course, you will practice reading, listening, speaking, and writing. You'll do activities to improve your grammar, and you will expand your vocabulary. To get the most out of this course, we recommend you bring a notebook to class to keep your notes and written work in order. For additional grammar explanations, you can refer to the grammar reference section in back of the book. The activities you do in class are recorded here. After doing a listening activity in class, you can listen to it again at home. You can listen to a segment several times to improve your understanding. If you have any questions, feel free to ask your teacher or teachers, coordinators, or the director at your branch. Unit 1, Activity 4.
Everyone has seen films in which a medieval army attacks an enemy castle by using a catapult to hurl giant rocks through the air. But have you ever wondered what it feels like to be the rock? Well, at least 2 people have. And today we'll be talking with both of them as well as examining their invention, the human catapult. Clive Whartonhog and Nigel Pinchley are members of the Fiddington Dangerous Stunt Factory. Clive, Nigel, thank you both for speaking with us.
Thank you for coming.
Nigel, you and Clive have been doing crazy things for quite a few years, haven't you?
That's right, Christina. We got started in 1983 when we decided to throw ourselves off the Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol using our own homemade bungee cord.
Since then, we've done all kinds of stuff, but I think this is going to be our greatest stunt yet.
And what is it that you're going to do today?
I am going to launch myself through the air using this device.
Now, this is the human catapult?
That's right. Nigel and I built this ourselves.
What can you tell us about this apparatus?
Well, the human catapult is based on the same design as a medieval trebuchet. Basically, trebuchets were military weapons that were used in siege warfare. The general idea was to use the device to throw stones and other missiles over the walls of a castle or fortress to break the siege.
I see. And are you going to use this device to hurl yourself through the air?
That's right. If you look over there, you can see we have a net about the size of a tennis court. If our calculations are correct, I will land in the net completely unhurt.
My goodness, what kind of safety equipment are you using?
Well, as you can see, I'm wearing a harness, a kidney belt, a neck brace, and a crash helmet. I'm also wearing gloves and heavy work boots to give myself some extra protection.
I have to say, this all seems very dangerous.
Don't worry, we've got everything carefully planned. Now, Nigel, remember what we practiced. Roll yourself into a ball and don't unroll until you stop bouncing on a safety net. Right, let's get you ready for the launch.
As Nigel prepares himself, we have an emergency crew standing by to help in case he needs it. It looks like they're just about ready. And he's off. He's flying through the air. Oh my God! I don't think he's going to make it. Yes! He's landed in the net. It looks like he's all right. Let's go over there quickly.
Nigel, mate, are you okay?
I'm fine. A little bit out of breath, but that was quite a ride.
That was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Well, we calculated his weight and the power of the catapult and plotted the trajectory of his flight. It was a simple matter of physics, really.
Well, there you have it, the human catapult. Nigel, Clive, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is Christina Fujimori with ESN Extreme Sports News.
Unit 1, Activity 9.
Finally tonight, amusement parks. How safe are they? Consumer Affairs correspondent Shelley Hinojosa reports.
I'm here with Dave Von Ronk. owner and proprietor of Dave's Fun World Park. Mr. Von Ronk, your park has been shut down several times because of your appalling safety record. Isn't that true?
Well, we've had some problems, but we've been working hard to resolve them. So far, we've had 27% fewer fatalities this year than last. I think it's important for the public to know that at Dave's Fun World Park, we're working hard to make your visit as memorable as possible.
Yes, but many of your attractions are still quite dangerous, aren't they?
Not at all. Dave's Fun World Park is a safe, fun, family-oriented fun park.
Well, let's talk about your poisonous reptile petting zoo. You encourage children to handle live scorpions, Gila monsters, and tarantulas.
Yes, it's a great introduction to the wonders of nature and gives children a taste of the real world.
There have also been several cases of children who passed out while visiting the toxic mansion.
Yes, but we have a sign advising parents not to allow their kids on the ride if they're sensitive to bad smells. I blame what happened on poor parenting skills, or maybe the inability to read.
Mr. Von Ronk, it has been reported that in the Swamp of Mystery section of the park, you have actual quicksand and live alligators.
That's absolutely not true. There are no live alligators in the Swamp of Mystery.
There aren't?
No. All of the alligators are in our Sewers of New York ride, and most of them are too small to climb into the boats.
Okay. Last year, 42 visitors to your park contracted salmonella after eating Dave burgers at your park.
Now, that was an unfortunate incident. One of our employees accidentally used meat that was supposed to be given to the alligators. We fired the people responsible for that.
Speaking of employees, there have been several complaints about your park's mascot, Pulpy the Clown. He has been accused of making obscene balloon animals, stealing money from children who visit the park, and getting into a fight in the parking lot with one of the parents.
Well, Pulpy has had some personal problems, but I'm happy to say that he's come a long way and his therapy has been very effective. We haven't had any problems at all with him as long as he continues taking his medication.
Mr. Von Ronk, I have to be honest. It seems that many of your rides are not very kid-friendly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
For example, the Tunnel of Broken Glass?
Kids love that.
Downhill Racer?
That's one of our most popular attractions.
Yes, but basically you just put children in an old shopping cart and push them down a hill.
Well, we believe that imagination is one of childhood's most important gifts.
What are you talking about?
Look, at Dave's Fun World Park, we're all about the fun. Moms and dads, boys and girls, come on down to Dave's Fun World Park for a day of fun you'll never forget. That's Dave's Fun World Park, just off of Interstate 13. Bring your friends.
Mr. Von Ronk, you're a disgusting human being. I hope the government shuts down your horrible park before any more children are hurt. This is Shelley Hinojosa, Channel 5 News.
Unit 1, Activity 11.
At first, everything seemed normal. Then, we all heard a loud noise, kind of like an explosion. All of a sudden, we were moving violently up and down. We started to go down with everything around us shaking and things falling out of the overhead compartments. We hit the ground really hard, and I heard a loud explosion. Suddenly, there was fire all around me. I unfastened my seatbelt and tried to find the exit. It was hard to see because of the smoke, but I managed to find the door and jumped down the slide to safety.
We were having dinner when my wife complained that it was getting hot. I smelled something burning, and suddenly there was smoke everywhere. People started running in all directions, but it was hard to see through all the smoke. My wife and I crawled under the tables trying to reach the exit. When we got there, it was blocked by a crowd of people trying to force their way out. Behind us, we could feel the incredible heat and hear people screaming. At last, people started to move through the doorway, and we finally made it outside.
My daughter and I were shopping at the supermarket when we noticed that people were screaming and running for the exit. It was difficult to stand, and things started falling off the shelves. It seemed that everything was crashing to the floor, bottles crashing on the tiles and exploding into shards of broken glass. Suddenly, the front windows shattered and crashed to the ground, and everything was moving and shaking. Some people had fallen to the ground and were screaming and crying. It only lasted about a minute, but it seemed to go on for an hour.
I was sitting at home, reading a book, when all of a sudden I heard a loud noise. I looked out the window and the sky had turned completely black. I heard a roaring noise, like a train coming toward the house, and all of a sudden the windows exploded. I threw myself on the floor, and suddenly everything in my house was flying around me. The noise was deafening, and I could feel some kind of pressure trying to pull me into the air, but I held onto the coffee table. Then I felt the pressure lift, and the noise moved away down the street. When I looked up, I saw that the roof of my house had disappeared.
Unit 1, Activity 16.
Good evening and welcome to Weekend Spotlight. Our topic tonight is disaster readiness. Do you know what to do to survive a major disaster? To help us answer that question, we have a very special guest. Buffalo Bob Thornton is a former Army survival trainer and the author of the book Buffalo Bob's Disaster Survival Handbook. Buffalo Bob, thank you for being with us tonight.
My pleasure.
Bob, you spend a lot of time in your book talking about the importance of preparation.
That's right. The people who survive a disaster are usually the ones who have given some thought to the matter and have made preparations.
You also mention that it's important to have a survival kit. And you give a list of items that should be included in a typical kit. Some of these items are obvious, but the reasons for some of the items might not be clear. I'd like to talk about some of these items, if it's all right with you.
Sure.
First, you begin with water.
That's right. Of the 3 essential survival items, water is the #1 priority for staying alive. You can die of dehydration in less than a day if conditions are bad enough.
In your book, you say that water purification tablets should be included in the kit.
Yes, water may need to be collected from the environment, and it has to be purified before it can be consumed.
This is interesting. You say that sugar should also be included?
Right. A little bit of sugar can be mixed with about half a liter of water a day to prevent severe dehydration.
It says in your book that snow should never be eaten.
No, snow should always be melted. Eating snow can cause hypothermia because it lowers your body temperature.
I'm not sure why, but you also included a small sponge on your list of items. Why is that?
A sponge can be used to collect condensation. Dew, frost, or condensation on metal, plants, or rocks can be soaked up with the sponge and then squeezed into your water container. Of course, all water should be purified before drinking.
And what about this item? A small mirror?
Right. That can be used as a signaling device. In the case of a plane crash, for example, it can be used to alert rescuers to your location.
You have been criticized for not including more information about how to start a fire. Why is that?
Well, a lot of people think it's important to be able to start a fire like they do in the movies. But the truth is that you don't want to waste a lot of time trying to find the necessary items to start a fire. Your best bet is to carry waterproof matches, which can be found in any camping supply store.
You write that food can be found almost anywhere, as long as you know where to look.
Yes, actually, you can survive quite a long time without food. But if you find yourself in a really desperate situation, like after a nuclear war, for example, you might have to eat whatever you can find. For that reason, it's important to know what can be eaten and what things should be avoided.
Is it really practical for people to carry all this stuff around?
Actually, you would be surprised. All of the items I mentioned can be folded up into a fairly small volume. They can be carried in a small backpack. That means that in an emergency, it can be grabbed quickly if you need to evacuate.
Buffalo Bob Thornton, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
When we come back, an astronomer will tell us about the dangers that meteors pose to our planet. Please join us after these messages.
Unit 1, Activity 18.
I think that human beings are doing terrible harm to the environment, and unless we take serious steps to reverse this damage, we may be looking at the end of life as we know it. Pollution is doing terrible harm to our air and water, and human expansion has destroyed a lot of the ecosystem that plants and animals depend on for survival. Something like 70 species become extinct every single day. That's a faster rate of extinction than when the dinosaurs disappeared. Destruction of the rainforest and pollution of the ocean is reducing the amount of oxygen on our planet. Global warming is a real and immediate danger, yet many countries don't even accept that it exists. I really believe that if we don't do something soon, our planet will no longer be able to support any kind of life.
I believe that we are very near the end of the world. If you read the Bible, you know that it predicts a lot of horrible events before the end. Just look at all the natural disasters we've had recently. Earthquakes, fires, floods. Every year it seems that there are more and more disasters and wars, and the world is becoming a worse and worse place. Nostradamus predicted that the world would end in a horrible way, and many of his predictions have already come true. Yes, I really think that this is the end time, and people should start preparing themselves for the end of days. Of course, I'm not scared about the prospect of the world ending. I know exactly where I'm going after everything is destroyed. But there are a lot of people who are going to suffer terribly because they didn't take the prophecies seriously.
I don't worry too much about the end of the world. I know that humans have done a lot of harm to the planet. But I also have a great deal of faith in the planet's ability to repair itself. To be honest, a lot of the scenarios I've heard about seem like science fiction. People are always exaggerating the dangers we face. For example, in the 1940s, when the U.S. was developing the atomic bomb, some scientists were concerned that the explosion might cause the atmosphere to burn, killing everything on the planet. Of course, that didn't happen. I know that there is always the possibility of some kind of catastrophe, like a meteor hitting the planet. But really, I think the chances of that happening are so small that it doesn't make sense to worry about it. I think we have enough problems to deal with without wasting our energy worrying about the end of the world.
Oh, I'm sure the end of the world will happen sometime in the next few years. All you have to do is look at all the UFO activity that has been reported in recent years to know that. The aliens are out there, spying on us, just waiting for their opportunity to take over. I think that what they're really waiting for is for us to develop robots. Then, when we have intelligent robots, what they'll do is join forces with the robots to attack us and destroy humankind. Well, this is one human who isn't going to let that happen. That's why I have a cabin in the woods with supplies like food, water, and lots of guns. When they come for me, I'll be ready for them. No alien robot army is going to hurt my family, I can tell you that.
Unit 1, Activity 21.
The funnel web spider is one of the most dangerous spiders in the world, and perhaps the most aggressive. It has been known to chase human beings and bite through shoes and heavy boots. They're usually black, with thick bodies and shiny legs. Even a small dose of the spider's venom can be fatal to humans. Although interestingly, many creatures are unaffected by the venom, including rabbits, dogs, and cats.
The saltwater crocodile is one of the world's largest and most aggressive reptiles. It has a large mouth filled with sharp teeth. The adult saltwater crocodile will eat almost anything that gets too close to it, including fish, birds, mammals, and even human beings. Although the saltwater crocodile looks clumsy on land, it can actually run extremely fast, in many cases faster than a horse over short distances. It is also an excellent swimmer and is an expert at camouflage.
Many sharks are dangerous to humans, but the largest and deadliest of all of them is the great white. The great white's body is streamlined to move quickly and easily through the water, and its mouth is filled with multiple rows of large, razor-sharp teeth. Sharks mostly eat baby dolphins, fish, and seals, and usually only attack humans when they confuse them with seals. Sharks have black eyes that often turn white when they attack.
The tiger snake is one of the deadliest snakes in the world. Its body is usually a light brown with distinct bands of green, gray, or yellow. It lives under rocks or fallen trees, and eats frogs, lizards, birds, and small mammals. Although it usually tries to avoid humans, its bite can be fatal.
The blue-ringed octopus is small, but it is one of the deadliest animals in the world. It is light in color with dark brown spots surrounded by blue circles. When the octopus is disturbed, the rings turn a brilliant electric blue color, giving the animal its name. Although the bite of the blue-ringed octopus is usually painless, its poison will have an immediate effect on the victim. Without medical treatment, a victim will usually become completely paralyzed in a few minutes and will soon die of heart failure and lack of oxygen. There is no antivenin for the blue-ringed octopus. Victims can only be saved by hours of continuous CPR.
Unit 1, Activity 23.
One time, I was in Australia visiting a friend. He warned me to be watchful for spiders and to stay away from them. I thought he was exaggerating, but one day I was walking near his house when I saw a large black spider. When it saw me, it reared up on its back legs and looked very aggressive and menacing. "Whoa," I said, and started to back away from it. Now usually, spiders run away when there's a human being near, but this one started coming towards me. I started running, and it continued to chase me. I finally reached the house and started screaming for my friend. He came out, and when he saw the spider, he turned as white as a sheet. He grabbed a cricket bat and started hitting the spider with it. He hit it 3 times before he finally killed it. Afterwards, he told me that it was a funnel web spider and that I was lucky because it's one of the deadliest spiders in the world. I had never seen anything like that. It was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life.
One time, I was hiking in the woods near our house. I had just sat down to have some lunch when I heard a noise in the tree above me. I looked up and saw a baby black bear. I realized I was in trouble because at that moment the mother bear appeared and started running towards me. I knew I couldn't outrun the bear, so I curled into a ball and played dead. The bear started biting me. First, she bit into my shoulder. The pain was horrible, but I couldn't scream. Then she bit the side of my face and neck. I was in agony, but I tried to lie as still as possible. Finally, she stopped. She sniffed me a few times, then walked away into the woods. I got up and stumbled through the woods toward civilization. At the hospital, I got 27 stitches in my head and 12 in my back. It was a horrible experience, but I don't really blame the bear. After all, she was only trying to protect her baby.
One time I was scuba diving with my brother off the coast of San Diego. The water near the coast was only a few meters deep, but at one point we drifted over the section where the floor dropped away about 20 meters. When we looked down, we could see 3 sharks below us. They were all about 4 or 5 meters long. My heart was pounding in my chest because I had never been that close to a shark before. Suddenly, they seemed to notice us and started to rise towards us. I knew not to panic because sudden movements can provoke them, but I've never been that scared in my life. The sharks got to within a couple of meters of us, but then decided that we weren't that interesting and swam away. My brother and I immediately swam back to shore. I didn't feel safe until my feet were on solid ground again, even though we weren't actually attacked. That incident is still the scariest experience I've ever had.
I was jogging in the hills near my house when suddenly something hit me. 1 minute I was jogging along, the next I was on the ground and something was pulling me into the trees near the path. I lifted my head and found myself staring into the face of an enormous cat. It was a mountain lion or a puma, as it's sometimes called, and it had jumped on me and knocked me to the ground. I tried to stand up, but the cat had my foot in its mouth and was pulling me across the ground. With my free foot, I kicked at it a few times, and finally it gave up and ran away into the bushes. I think I was really lucky. I got away with only a few cuts and bruises. I had no idea that mountain lions were so strong. If I had been just a little bit smaller, I might not have been able to get away, and the creature would have eaten me. I still have nightmares about the incident to this day.
Unit 2, Activity 3.
What time is it, kids?
It's math time!
I can't hear you.
It's math time!
That's right, it's math time with me, Professor Math. Are you ready to learn something new about numbers today?
Yay!
Okay, let's get started. First, I'll need a volunteer from the audience. Okay, the girl in the red blouse, come up here, please. What's your name?
Sally.
Okay, Sally, you're going to help me show everybody how to square a 2-digit number quickly. Do you know what square means?
Yes, it's when you multiply a number times itself.
That's right. So 3 squared is?
9.
Right, very good. Now, tell me a 2-digit number that ends in 5, and I'll quickly square it for you.
65.
4,225.
Wow, that was fast.
Would you like to learn how to do it?
Sure.
Okay, let's use your number as an example. If we use 65, let's drop the 5. What number do we have left?
6.
And what number comes after 6?
7.
Right. Now, multiply 6 and 7 together and you get?
42.
That's right. Now, just put 25 after that number and that's your answer, 4,225.
Wow.
Okay, so let's review the procedure again. Take your number and drop the 5. Multiply the number you have left times the number that follows it, and then put 25 after the result. Are you ready to try one for yourself?
Ready.
Quickly, tell me the square of 35.
1,225.
Excellent, you got it. Let's have a big round of applause for Sally. Okay, for my next demonstration...
Unit 2, Activity 5.
Hey, Julia, ready for lunch?
I sure am. There's a great new restaurant that I've been dying to try.
Really? What's it called?
La Dolce Vita. It's an Italian restaurant.
How do you spell that?
Ladolcevita.
Okay. Just a second.
What are you doing?
I'm calculating the number of the restaurant based on the name.
What are you talking about?
It's numerology.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm not. Let's see. The restaurant's name reduces to the number 5. Today is the 15th, so yeah, I guess the restaurant will be okay.
Are you serious about this? What is numerology anyway?
It's the study of numbers and how their hidden characteristics can reflect certain tendencies and aptitudes. They show how everything is part of the cosmic plan.
How can they do that?
Well, for example, your name can reveal a great deal about your personality.
Okay, but how can a name have a number?
Each letter has a numeric value that provides a related cosmic vibration. The sum of the numbers derived from the letters in the name provide an interrelation of vibrations. They can show a great deal about character, purpose in life, motivations, and where your talents might lie. Here, let me show you. What is your complete name?
Julia Agatha Bell.
Agatha? Your middle name is Agatha?
It was my grandmother's name. Look, do you want to do the calculations or not?
Okay. The total of the letters in your name is 50. If we add them together, your destiny number is 5.
What does that mean?
Well, 5 indicates that in general you are adventurous, mercurial, and sensual. You have a great capacity for adaptability and change. Because of this, you are clever, analytical, and a very quick thinker. Does that sound like you?
I guess so. Look, I'm getting kind of hungry.
What's your birth date?
Why do you want to know my birth date?
So I can calculate your life path. The life path describes the nature of your journey through life.
Oh, all right. October 23rd, 1972.
Okay. Add the month 10, reduce it to 1. Add 23, which is reduced to 5. And the year 1972, which reduces to 19. Then 10, and finally 1. So your life path number is 7.
That's super. Now can we...
This is very interesting. A life path 7 person is very peaceful and affectionate, but is rather reserved and analytical by nature. This is a very spiritual number. You need a great deal of quiet time to be with your own inner thoughts and dreams.
Okay, great. Can we eat now?
Sure, let's go.
Should we take my car or yours?
It depends. What's your license number?
Oh, for crying out loud. Let's just take the bus.
The number 12 bus or the number 16 bus?
Unit 2, Activity 7.
I find it difficult to believe that there are people who actually believe in numerology. Really, how realistic is it to believe that numbers associated with the letters of your name and your birth date can reveal information about your personality or tell you what you should do with your life? Some people find that a numerological reading is very accurate in describing them, but usually people ignore the parts that don't fit and focus on the parts that do. This happens because many readings describe us in ways that we would like to be true about us. Many people spend large sums of money on personal numerologists or call special numerological hotlines for information about what they should do. Some of the attractiveness of numerology comes from the desire to find somebody who will tell you that you have hidden strengths and powers and will reinforce your deepest needs and emotions. Many people are simply waiting for somebody else to tell them what they should do with their lives. Many of them feel unloved, misunderstood, confused, or without purpose or direction. They try numerology as a way to make themselves feel better. I think the reason that many people believe in numerology is that numbers help to give a scientific authority to a mystical process, particularly when complex statistical analysis is used. Another problem is that of language. How can numbers that correspond to the letter of one language be the same in a completely different language? It is one thing to use numbers in a scientific way that can be tested and proven to be accurate or not. It is something else entirely to claim that a person's name and the day he was born can predict the paths of a person's life.
I firmly believe that numerology is a valid and important discipline. Pythagoras said that the world is built upon the power of numbers, and we can see this every day in computers, physics, accounting, and anything else that uses numbers to measure things. It seems obvious that numbers are all around us, and that they play a part in our destinies as well as in our daily lives. A large number of famous people have used numerology to guide their lives, such as actors, presidents, and the owners of large successful corporations. Many companies have even hired numerologists to help them select a name for their business that will help them become more successful and profitable. Many people attack numerology because they don't really understand the principles and ideas that it is based on. For example, they don't understand that any language that uses a familiar Roman alphabet can be analyzed by numerology, because numerologists don't consider accents and special characters when performing their calculations. I believe that numerology works better for some people than others, because people who have psychic abilities are drawn to subjects like numerology, astrology, card reading, etc., as a way of exploring and improving their abilities. I think that people misunderstand numerology because they expect it to provide specific answers to the questions that they have about their lives. However, numerology can reveal general trends and tendencies. We still have the free will to make our own decisions. For me, the most important thing to realize about numerology is that no matter how accurately it may describe our lives and our destinies, it is still up to us to decide how we will act on that information.
Unit 2, Activity 11.
You know what they say, time is money. I believe that that's true, so I try never to waste time. I think it's important to take advantage of every second of every day. People should have a schedule, and they should stick to it. Something that really bugs me is when people arrive late. It's really important to arrive when you say you will. Hey, my time is valuable. Don't waste it by keeping me waiting.
Oh, I think there's plenty of time in the day to do what you have to do. I hate it when people are uptight about punctuality and schedules. What's the big deal? I never understood why people are concerned about what time they come to work or when they should get to a party. If I'm doing something that I enjoy now, why should I stop it to go do something else?
Lately, I've really felt that time has been moving very quickly, perhaps too quickly. People are always rushing here and rushing there. They never take the time to just relax and enjoy life. They're always in a hurry to get somewhere else. People should try to live in the moment instead of the future. After all, life should be enjoyed, not forced into a schedule.
To me, time is something that I never have enough of. I have so many responsibilities. I feel that I'm always running to get somewhere on time. Jeffrey has to be at soccer practice at 3. I have to pick Susie up from her piano lessons at 4. It seems it never stops. Sometimes I wish there were more than 24 hours in a day, so I would have more time for things, especially time for myself.
Unit 3, Activity 2.
I really hate going where there are a lot of people. I'm not a tourist, I'm a traveler. And when I'm traveling, I want to discover the essence of the place I'm visiting. As much as possible, I try to experience every aspect of how people live there. For example, I always try to hitchhike. You can learn a lot about a place from the people who give you a ride. I've been to a lot of places that I never would have found if the local people hadn't told me about them. I never stay in hotels. Whenever I can, I stay with local people or in youth hostels. I also try not to take too much stuff. Possessions only get in the way. I also try to travel alone as much as possible. For me, traveling is an interior journey as well as a physical one.
I like to be comfortable, so I always bring as much stuff as possible. I usually have at least 3 suitcases, and sometimes more if I'm going to be away for a long time. For example, I would never think of leaving home without my hairdryer and makeup supplies. And of course, clothes are very important. I try to have at least 2 outfits for each day of travel. I always stay at the best hotel I can afford. As I said, I want to be comfortable. I usually pick a place that's close to the beach, so I can go swimming or sunbathing if I want. To be honest, my favorite activities are shopping and relaxing at the hotel.
I don't have a lot of time, so when I travel, I try to see as much as possible in the shortest time. I really like tours that take you to see a lot of different sites every day. I like to take trips where I'm always moving on to someplace new. I think that's why I don't really worry too much about where I stay. I never spend much time there, so I really don't care what kind of hotel I stay at or what kind of services they offer. After I've seen the sights during the day, I like to go out in the evening to bars and discos and basically just party all night long. That's why I like to travel with friends. The more the merrier is my philosophy. I don't usually carry very much. Just a camera and a credit card is all I really need.
I'm terribly interested in the environment, so I always try to plan my trips as a way of getting in touch with nature. I usually try to visit places that are still in their natural state, far away from the effects of civilization. I never stay in hotels. I think they destroy the purpose of traveling, which is to leave the modern technological world and to discover the world of nature, which most people are not familiar with. I usually travel with my life partner, and we always camp in the places we visit. We only carry the things we need and try to live off the natural resources the land provides us. Of course, it's important to always carry back everything you bring so you don't pollute the area you visit with trash.
Unit 3, Activity 5, Part 1.
Garunda Travel, this is Mavis. How may I help you?
Yes, I need to fly to Phoenix on business next Wednesday. Can you make a reservation for me on that day?
I'm afraid that's pretty short notice. It might be a little difficult.
Well, I would have called earlier, but I didn't find out about the trip until yesterday.
Let's see what we can do. Okay. What time do you have to be there?
No later than 11.
Sorry, the first flight I can put you on doesn't leave until 10:30, and the flight itself is 3 hours.
Part 2.
Well, I guess I'll have to leave the day before then.
All right. I have a flight on Tuesday, February 5th, that leaves at 7:30 at night and arrives at 10:40.
That's a little late. Do you have anything earlier?
Let's see. Yes, there's a flight that leaves at 9, but you have to make a connection in Dallas-Fort Worth. Unfortunately, your flight arrives at 10, but the connecting flight doesn't leave until 3. You'll have a 5-hour layover.
Part 3.
Oh, boy. Is there anything else I can do?
Well, you might try standby. You can arrive at the airport next Wednesday and see if any seats become available.
But there's no guarantee that I'll get a flight, right?
No, you won't know until you get there. The airline personnel won't be able to tell you anything until 30 minutes before the flight.
That won't work. I have to confirm the flight beforehand.
Part 4.
Well, there's one more thing we can try. I have a friend who works at Delta Airlines, and she can sometimes get seats on flights that are full. She won't be in her office until 2, but I'll give her a call. Can you call me back after 2?
Sure. How long will you be there?
I'll be here until 4. Obviously, I won't know anything until I talk to her. So why don't you call me back after, say, 2:30?
Okay. Thank you very much for your help. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, sir. I'll expect your call this afternoon.
Unit 3, Activity 7.
Good morning and welcome to the Mermaid Hotel. May I help you?
Yes, I have a reservation here.
Do you have a confirmation number?
Yes, it's 40826.
Let's see. Are you Mr. Jacobs?
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jacobs, but that room is no longer available. We can only hold rooms until 6 o'clock.
Unfortunately, our flight was delayed and we didn't arrive until 7. Do you have any other vacancies?
Let me check the computer. Yes, we just had a cancellation for one of our suites.
How much is that?
It's $128 a night.
That's more than I wanted to spend. Do you have anything cheaper?
I'm afraid not. I have several standard rooms, but they won't be available until 10 o'clock tomorrow.
I see.
May I make a suggestion? If you'd like, you can stay in a suite until tomorrow and then change to a standard room.
Yes, that sounds like a good idea. What are my options for the standard room?
How many people are there in your party?
My wife and I and our 2 children.
I have a room with a king-size bed and 2 twin beds on the 8th floor. Or, for the same price, a room with 2 double beds on the 6th floor.
I think I'll take the room with the king-size bed.
Very good, sir. And how long will you be staying with us?
Until Saturday.
All right. May I have your credit card, please?
Yes, here you are.
Unit 3, Activity 9.
I have to travel a lot because of my job, but I really don't like to fly at all. I'm usually a nervous wreck during the whole flight. I get particularly tense during takeoff. The way the plane shakes and the noise it makes, quite frankly, terrifies me. I really wish I didn't have to fly at all, but unfortunately for me, that's not an option. I try to deal with it by ordering several drinks to calm myself. Still, no matter how much I drink, I'm always white and shaking when I arrive. I know that my fear isn't rational, but I can't help it. From the time we take off to the time we land, I'm completely convinced that everyone on board is going to die.
Oh, I love flying. I've never been nervous or afraid on an airplane in my life. I think it's a marvelous thing to soar through the air. I mean, think about what an accomplishment flight is. There you are, thousands of feet in the air, traveling distances in hours that in the past would take several months. I've flown hundreds of times, but every time I get on a plane, I'm just as excited as I was the first time. I don't understand people who are afraid of flying. There are literally millions of flights a year. And how many of them crash? 3? 4? I never think about my plane crashing. I just look out the window and enjoy the view.
Airplanes are nothing but death traps. I can't believe that people are actually foolish enough to voluntarily get on one of those contraptions. I've never been on an airplane, and I never will be. It seems that every day we see images of planes that have fallen out of the sky. If you're in one of them, what can you do? Nothing, that's what. No, sir, you'll never get me up there. If God had intended for us to fly, He would have given us wings, that's what I think. Oh, I've heard the arguments that the chances of a crash are 1 in millions. But if you're on one of the planes that crashes, then the odds for you are 100%, aren't they? No, thank you. I think I'll just stick to the bus or the train.
I wouldn't say that I'm afraid of flying, but I have to admit that sometimes I get a little nervous. Not all the time, you understand, just when the conditions are a little unusual. For example, I get a little anxious whenever the plane hits turbulence. The way the plane bounces up and down always scares me a little. Oh, I tell myself that planes are designed to resist much greater forces than that, but I just can't seem to help feeling a little worried. Intellectually, I know how unlikely a plane crash is, but sometimes I can't help but pay attention to that little voice inside that says that maybe this flight will be the one that goes down. Silly, isn't it?
Unit 3, Activity 13.
Hey, where are you headed?
Houston. How far are you going?
I can give you a lift as far as Austin. How does that sound?
Great.
Hop in.
Thanks a lot for the ride.
No problem. You been traveling long?
Almost 2 years. I decided I wanted to see as much of the world as I could before I go back to college.
Wow, that's a long time. How many places have you been?
I've been through Europe, Australia, some parts of Asia.
And you hitchhiked in all of those places?
Yeah.
So, is it easy to get a ride in all those different countries?
It depends. Europe was interesting because every country was a little bit different. The north of England and Scotland are great places to hitchhike. If the first driver doesn't stop, the second one will. The only problem is that you might not see that second car for another 6 hours.
Huh.
People in France and Spain don't have a lot of compassion for hitchhikers, although France was the only country where women drivers would pick me up.
I've heard Germany is an interesting place to hitchhike.
Yeah. You can get around really fast on the autobahns. The trick is getting there in the first place. You usually have to try at a service center or on-ramp. Italy was interesting. It seems that about half the drivers there are in a hurry to have a meeting with God.
What was Japan like?
It was great. People there almost always stop because when they see you by the side of the road, they assume something is wrong.
Was it difficult to hitchhike in Australia? It seems like such an enormous place.
Yeah, it's gigantic. And the distances between places are huge. Sometimes I ended up with the same ride for days. Truckers are the most likely to pick you up there.
Do you ever have trouble when you're hitchhiking? I mean, I've heard that hitchhiking can be dangerous.
Not really. I never had any serious problems. I remember one time in England, when a guy picked me up, all he wanted to do was talk about sex. When I told him I wasn't comfortable talking about it, he got upset and kicked me out in the middle of nowhere. But apart from that, most people I've met have been really nice and friendly. But do you mind if I ask you something?
No, go ahead.
If you've heard that hitchhiking is dangerous, why did you stop for me?
I don't know. I guess you looked okay, and I was getting a little bored. I suppose I just wanted someone to talk to.
I think that's why a lot of people pick up hitchhikers. Well, whatever the reason was, I appreciate the ride.
Sure. Listen, I'm getting kind of hungry. What do you say we stop and get something to eat at that restaurant up there?
Sounds good.
Unit 3, Activity 17.
Well, here we are. Look how gorgeous the ocean is.
Yeah, and the sand is so clean. I just want to lie down and soak up some sun.
Me too. Boy, I really need this vacation. Work has been brutal lately.
Hello there. Are you the Andersons?
Yes, we are. I'm Dave, and this is my wife, Heather.
Welcome, I'm Jean-Paul.
And I'm Bertrand.
And we are your facilitators.
Our what?
Your facilitators. We are here to make sure that you have a great time here at Club Frenzy.
Thanks, but we're okay.
Super, but right now we need you over at the sports pavilion.
That's right. The morning activities are just about to begin. First up is the men versus women volleyball tournament.
To be honest, I think we'd rather just relax here on the beach.
Now that's not the Club Frenzy spirit, is it, Bertrand?
It's sure not. Dave, Heather, you chose Club Frenzy to have a fun and memorable vacation, and we're here to make sure that happens.
So, come on, let's go play some volleyball.
Well, I suppose that's what we came for.
That's more like it. I sure hope you slept well last night, because we have a fun-filled and exciting day planned for you.
Really?
Absolutely. First, we'll hit the pavilion for the morning activities, including volleyball, kickboxing, and fake rock climbing.
Then, after a 20-minute lunch, we'll head back to the beach for the 10K obstacle course, body surfing, and sandcastle competition.
Gee, isn't that a lot for one day?
You know the Club Frenzy motto, too much is never enough.
Don't worry, Heather. After all that activity, we'll sleep like babies tonight.
Oh, no, you won't. We've scheduled both of you for the midnight bonfire and the techno rave. You'll be dancing the night away.
Trust me, you won't believe how beautiful the sunrise is here.
I don't know about this.
Don't you worry about a thing. Just leave it to us.
You bet, Jean-Paul. Now, in the meantime, let me tell you what's on your schedule for tomorrow.
Unit 3, Activity 20.
I just had the most boring week of my life. We went to the Flying V Ranch, and I was shocked at how little there was to do. Everything was about horses and cows. It was disgusting. I mean, they're so dirty, and they smell awful. I was hot and dirty and uncomfortable almost the entire time I was there. And to make things worse, the rooms didn't even have televisions. The food was terrible, too. We even ate outdoors. Can you imagine? In fact, most of our time was spent outdoors. And I discovered that there are lots and lots of insects and lizards and other disgusting things out in the country. One night, they made us sleep outdoors on some kind of overnight camping trip. It was awful. They even made us sing pathetic cowboy songs. I actually thought we were going to do something interesting when we took a day trip to Tombstone. I thought I was finally going to have some fun, but there were no malls, no discos, nothing. There were just museums and places with boring information about the Old West. Even the art galleries were boring. Just lots of pictures of cows and horses and cowboys. If you ask me, the whole thing was a complete waste of time.
We just got back from a week at the Flying V Ranch, and it was fantastic. I couldn't believe how much fun and interesting stuff there was to do. Working with the cattle was great. We got a chance to see what real cowboys do and even try some of the work ourselves. It was tiring, but it was a great way to forget about all of my everyday problems. I liked getting out in the open air and experiencing nature in its pure form. My favorite part of the trip was the overnight pack trip. We rode out into the desert and slept under the stars, and it was absolutely gorgeous. After dinner, we all gathered around the campfire and sang wonderful songs like Ghost Riders in the Sky. We also visited Tombstone, which I thought was fascinating. There were lots of places like Big Nose Kate's Saloon that really gave you an idea what the Old West must have been like. And I found a great art gallery that had lots of paintings by a number of famous Western artists. We even visited Boot Hill, which is the cemetery on the edge of town where gunfighters ended up when they lost. I think it was the best vacation I've ever taken in my life.
Unit 3, Activity 21. Ghost Riders in the Sky.
An old cowpoke went riding out one dark and stormy day. On a ridge he rested as he rode along his way, when all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, a-plowing through the ragged sky and up a cloudy draw. Their horns are black and shiny and their hooves are made of steel. Their brands were still on fire and their hot breath he could feel. A bolt of fear shot through him as they thundered through the sky, 'cause he saw the riders coming hard and heard their mournful cry. Yippee-yi-yay, yippee-yi-yo. Ghost riders in the sky. Their faces gaunt, their eyes a blur, their shirts all soaked with sweat. They're riding hard to catch that herd, but they ain't caught 'em yet, 'cause they've got to ride forever on that range up in the sky, on horses snorting fire. As they ride on, hear them cry, yippee-yi-yay, yippee-yi-yo. Ghost riders in the sky. As the riders loped on by him, he heard one call his name. If you want to save your soul from hell or riding on our range, then cowboy, change your ways today, or with us you will ride, trying to catch this devil's herd across these endless skies. Yippee-yi-yay, yippee-yi-yo. Ghost riders riders in the sky. Yippee-yi-yay, yippee-yi-yo-ho. Ghost riders in the sky.
Unit 4, Optional Activity 2.
Next, do you think your job is dangerous? In many parts of the country, tornadoes are a fact of life. Most people living in tornado country hope they never see a tornado, even as they prepare for the possibility of one. However, there's a group of people who not only track tornadoes, but try to get as close to them as possible. As Cynthia McFarland reports, these storm chasers have given job insecurity a whole new meaning.
Some people call them heroes. Many people call them crazy. They call themselves storm chasers. But whatever you call them, it's hard to think of them as anything but committed. While most people try to avoid danger whenever possible, storm chasers spend much of their time putting themselves directly in danger's path. I spent several days with Dave Harland and his team of storm chasers, and it was an experience I'll never forget. Let's watch. Dave, how long have you been doing this?
Since 1989.
And how many tornadoes have you seen?
Well over 200.
Many people wonder why someone would do this. It seems like an incredibly dangerous way to make a living.
Every year, dozens of people in this country are killed by tornadoes. By studying tornadoes, we can understand better the conditions that cause them, and perhaps give people more warning when a tornado is coming. I think of my work as a way of saving lives.
Yes, but aren't you putting your life and the life of your team in danger?
There is an element of risk in what we're doing, but that's true of many jobs.
But just last year, another storm chaser, Drew Shavers, was killed by a tornado not far from here. Isn't that true?
Well, sure. But as I said, risk is part of the job.
You've been criticized because of your habit of trying to get as close as possible to tornadoes. In fact, many people have called you reckless, or even suggested that you have a death wish.
Oh, that's just nonsense. I take my work seriously and do what I have to do to get the scientific results I need.
What is the most dangerous situation you've ever been in?
Well, about 8 years ago, we were chasing a tornado that suddenly changed direction and turned on us. We tried to get away, but it was moving too quickly. We had to take refuge under a bridge, and the tornado passed right over the top of us. I've never heard anything like that. It sounded like a freight train passing overhead. We were lucky to survive that.
Our interview was suddenly interrupted by a member of Dave's team.
Dave, we got a confirmed sighting north of I-67.
Let's go. Cynthia, you're welcome to come along.
And so I found myself in Dave's van, heading towards a tornado.
Look, there it is.
Oh my God!
Oh man, that's beautiful. What do you think it is, an F2?
At least an F2, probably an F3.
I've got it on camera, Dave.
Hurry, try to get a little closer.
Closer?
Looks like it's moving towards Wyattville.
For the next 20 minutes, we followed the tornado's progress. Fortunately, it disappeared before reaching the town, and no one was hurt. Afterwards, I spoke to Dave about the experience.
So, what did you think of your first tornado run?
I have to be honest, Dave. I was terrified the entire time.
Yeah, but even so, you have to admit it was pretty exciting. You get used to it after a while.
I don't think I want to get used to it. In any case, thanks for talking to me, Dave.
No, thank you.
Even though my time as a storm chaser was relatively brief, it remains an experience I'll never forget. This is Cynthia McFarland for Eye on America's Special Report.
Unit 4, Practice 2.
Hello, little lady. Do you need a lift?
Yes, I'm trying to get to Edinburgh.
Well, I can take you as far as York. Hop in.
Thank you very much for stopping.
Not at all. I must say we don't see many women hitchhiking these days. So where are you from?
I'm from the U.S., Minnesota to be exact.
And what brings you to England?
I'm on vacation. I just graduated from college and I wanted to see a little of the world before I start working.
Well, what do you think of our country so far?
Oh, it's wonderful. Everybody has been so nice and polite. I thought London was amazing. It was so clean and well organized. And of course, the weather has been beautiful.
Well, summer is nice, although the weather can get a bit nasty in winter. Listen, would you like to have a real taste of Britain?
I guess so.
Splendid. There's a nice pub just up the road a piece. Let me buy you lunch.
Oh, I couldn't impose.
Nonsense. I have a daughter about your age. I'd like to think that if she were travelling, someone would be nice to her.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
The Goat in Boots is a very nice pub, and they serve a genuine ploughman's lunch.
A ploughman's lunch? What's that?
Typically, it's a slice of cheddar cheese, a piece of home-baked bread, a pickled onion, and a pint of beer. You can't really leave England without trying it.
Okay, thanks.
Unit 4, Activity 2.
Ow!
What's the matter, Jane?
I think a bee stung me.
Let me see. Yeah, it was a bee, all right.
Ouch, it really hurts.
Don't touch it. If you squeeze it, you'll just get more poison in the wound, and it will hurt more.
What can I do?
We need something to remove the stinger. I don't have a knife, but let me check. I know. I can use the edge of a credit card. There, it's out.
Gosh, that's really painful.
You haven't been stung by a bee before?
No, never.
What do you mean, What's wrong?
You wouldn't happen to know if you're allergic, would you?
No. Why?
Well, sometimes when people are allergic to bees, they can have a reaction.
What kind of reaction?
Well, in severe cases, they can't breathe.
Can't breathe? Oh my God, what should I do?
Well, now just calm down. Let's wait a little bit. How do you feel?
All right, I guess. Except that sting really hurts.
Okay, you're not allergic, but we should probably do something for the pain. Let me check in the first aid kit here. Okay, here's some antiseptic cream for burns. Let's put some of this on it.
Oh, that's better. How did a bee get into the office anyway?
It's pretty hot today. It probably flew in through an open window.
You're probably right. So, did you kill the bee?
Bees die when they sting you.
They do?
Yeah, look, it's right there on your desk.
Ew, gross. Well, anyway, it got what it deserved.
Hola, buen día. Primero que nada, gracias por estar viendo este video, por tu tiempo, esta video presentación. Mi nombre es Isaac Badillo, asesor financiero con 10 años de carrera bancaria. Actualmente me especializo en el área de divisas, tipo de cambio, ofreciendo lo que son estrategias, herramientas y servicios para optimizar esos ejercicios, esas operaciones. ¿Cómo? Con posturas, órdenes en mercado, un sistema que se queda trabajando 5 días de la semana, los 24 horas que el mercado está activo. Análisis técnico, básicamente la verificación de gráfico para sacar tendencias, soportes y resistencias, ver probabilidades y pronósticos. Y administración de riesgos para administrar lo que es a un lapso de tiempo, proteger la tesorería de la empresa por la volatilidad de precios. Mi nombre es Isaac Badillo, gracias por mirar este video. Saludos.